Welcome to the Fantasy HQ podcast, all things NRL fantasy. Find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Facebook. Your hosts, Frosty and Stevo. Here we are, it's round 25 of the NRL season, not long to go, and we are the Fantasy HQ podcast, all things NRL fantasy. Tonight I'm here with Frosty, and he is fresh off the loss of a dog's loss, while I'm very happy as the Warriors have re-entered the top four and looking like against the Titans this week, we might put pressure on the Dogs and actually kick them out. So, how's it been, Frosty? What's the nervous levels like?
Steve, good to see you. Yeah, look, it's an interesting time for the Dogs, isn't it? So they've got three big matchups to go. They did have four for the run home, but three more to go. Storm in Melbourne this week. So, the next couple of weeks will be telling for them, and they're likely to get bashed up a bit and be in for some tough games. It's been a long time since their last bye. I think around 16. I think they wrapped it up. So, yeah, interesting time for the Doggies, but they'll keep on soldiering on. And Serrato had some choice words in the press conference after the game, so he's probably got a couple of boys skating on thin ice. So, interesting times at Dogs HQ, but on the fantasy front, can't complain with the week too much. So, looking forward to round 25 with 3 big weeks to go.
I know I'm just quickly touching on the Dogs again. You and me had a bit of I wouldn't say heated discussion, but we had a bit of back and forth through messages about how the Dogs are placed. And I mean, I'm completely against the Galvin for this season. I understand for the future, but for this season, I don't see it being a good idea not playing Sexton. I really don't. That's me, but
always a big call, isn't it? Like I've said before, I haven't seen such a big move in the middle of a season for a team going so well. And it'll be interesting next 3 weeks and then into the finals and see how they go. A first round and second round back-to-back losses and dive out if they do end up in the top 4 will not be good news for the boys, but we'll see how they go.
I'm looking forward to the finals already. Not so much for the Warriors, because I don't see the Warriors putting up much without the likes of Metcalf and Barnett and key players like that.
Yeah, they need that top 4. They need to just hold the Panthers out, 1 for themselves, but 2 for the rest of the competition.
Definitely. But yeah, it's going to be some interesting matchups from 1 to 8, because you've got, Roosters are looking on top. They could upset anyone, really. You got teams like the Broncos that once they're fit, they might end up being in that 7-8 spot as well. So could be interesting. Could be an interesting finals run. But moving on to this week, we're going to go over the ins and outs, who's in, who's out for round 25. We'll jump straight into our trade targets, and it is very similar to previous weeks. So we'll touch on a couple of key players there, and we'll go over it relatively quickly, followed up with some key questions, and then a little bit of a recap, and then our tips for round 25. So we'll jump straight to the ins and outs. Ins, we won't start with. We'll start with the outs with Ruben Garrick. He's out for the season with a shoulder subluxation. Cam McInnes, he's out ACL, gone for the season. Hamish Stewart, concussion problems. Dragons have ruled him out for the season. Jack Jasewski, broken collarbone, see you later. Gerbo, Manly have decided to make him rest the rest of the season off due to his latest concussion. Jolliffe, knee injury, he's gone for the season. Daniel Tupou, HIA symptoms late after the game, so he's also ruled out. Jack de Belin had that head knock clash with Stewart, I believe, so he's out. Sean Bloor, he was ruled out late last week with an ankle complaint and remains sidelined. Latrell Mitchell, for anyone that brought him in, we were just discussing Frosty, you'd be hating your life right now. But he's out again with a back issue and is not back next week, so because they've got the bye. And then lastly, Jackson Ford, that was a pretty popular bring-in and was scoring well, but he is gone for the regular season through suspension. So there's quite a bit there in the outs. Ins, similarly, we have quite a few coming in. Isaiah Yeo is listed amongst the reserves, but as Ivan Cleary usually does, lists them in the reserves and brings them in just before game day. So expect him to be back in the team. Colin Matangi, he is back for the Rabbitohs, however has a bye next week. A trio of Warriors players into Mari Martin, Kurt Capewell, and Rocco Berry returns. Help the Wars out there. Phoenix Crossland returns from, I think, his HIA. Lachlan Hubner returning. Sewell Wong returning. Brian Kelly in the midfield returns, along with Jojo Fafita. And then you've got Felice Kafusi for the Dragons and Ben Murdoch Masilla for the Kafusi for the Dolphins, and Ben Murdoch Masilla for the Dragons returns. Is it his first game of the season, or has he played a couple games earlier on?
Yeah, he hasn't played many. If he has,
so it could be an option of a cheapie in the end there if you're desperate for someone. So that's sort of our ins and outs. There's quite a bit there. If you've got trades, then there's a few you can sell if you've got them. Otherwise, a few people might be holding on with some red dots for the rest of the way. But we'll jump into our trade targets. And Frosty, if you want to run us through these, some names here we've seen a bit throughout the season. So I think we've decided to go our top two for the keepers being the top two in each position. So if you sort of want to make sure you've got those 12 players there, followed by some pods and some cheapies that we'll chat about.
Yeah, 100%. So those top two lines, keepers, we won't dive into them. Pretty straightforward. They are the top two in their positions there. So, like you say, out of your 17 scorers, you're looking to have all 12 of those, and you are well and truly on the right track to big scores for the run home. But in the hook department at pod, and I'll just chuck it out early doors, I think this pod range is some of the strongest we've seen over the last few rounds. So if you are looking to make a couple moves here or there, either head-to-head or overall, I think these are some fantastic options, especially the likes of Verrills, Dewey, and Walsh. But we'll start with Verrills. 56 last week, after we did mention him, spoke about him last week. Remains a great option, 80 minutes, 50 tackles in 4 straight games now. So fantastic base stats there for a hooker. You love the tackle bots who can get a couple of attacking stats here and there. He's got over a few tries lately. So a great pod option to kick things off this week. Billy Walters, the cheapie, had him there last week. We spoke about probably mid-30s. Gave us a 38. First game is 5'8" alongside Ben Hunt at halfback. Limited attacking stats, 19 tackles. And he'll continue just to be floating around this. Might go a couple lower, might go a couple above, but it'll be pretty stock standard Walters score for the run home. Into the front row, Tino's back, and he returned, playing 53 minutes, scored a 48. Jolliffe gone for the season, as you mentioned just before, Steve-O, so his minutes should get a wee bump and stay high for the last 3 weeks. And don't be surprised if he averages 50 or 50 plus for the last 3. And at 541k, a great pot option in the front row. Hayward, he scored a 40 starting at hooker a couple of weeks ago. Got even more minutes with 76 and scored 48. That's a spot now. Reid is well and truly entrenched there on the bench, getting extremely low minutes, and they may even get to a point, the Dogs, where they give him a flick and get a fourth forward on there because, Reid doesn't look to be doing too much other than warming the pine, unfortunately. So Hayward at 339k, fantastic option for any coaches, head-to-head or overall, who really don't have coin for whatever reason and are looking for a cheap player who's going to average 45. This is your guy.
Do you like the move by the Dogs and switching out Marnie for Hayward? Because
if I'm honest, I don't. Possibly he's there for the future, but again, you probably have to focus on this year. And I think Reid offers plenty in the hooker position. I think Cowboys has got a good player going up north next season. And Bailey Hayward, for the last year and a little bit, has been our best ball-playing lock. So it's not only the hooker position that's getting affected, it's also that lock position. So I mean, I'm not Salmon's number one fan. I don't think he brings as much as Hayward and Mann combination at lock.
especially when Hayward's playing that sort of 65 to 70 minutes almost at the hooker role.
Yeah,
It almost means Salmon is having to play that sort of minutes as well. And yeah, I'm the same. I like Reed, so
yeah,
yeah, it does feel like a waste, and I can, like you say, I can actually see them dropping him altogether because
yeah,
yeah, he he's sort of, you're bringing him on as an impact player that is going to sort of lose his head a little bit and potentially give away
yeah,
penalties as well.
100%.
So
Exactly what I was going to say.
it's not really someone you want coming off the bench that's just likely to give a penalty away. That can, you want him to bring impact where he positively affects the team, not potentially puts you on the back foot straight away. And
Yeah,
I love Remani, but
yeah,
yeah, just don't like this role for him.
no, not at all. Uh, into the edges, Hopgood. He continues to go great guns. Got the starting prop position back. I'm not sure why he ever lost it. But 48 and 55 minutes, an average of 50 in the last 5 games where he has been starting at front row. So again, you'd like to think, fingers crossed, he finishes this way. This must be his role for the last 3 games, you'd like to think. And if that is the case, a very nice pot option, dual position, 571k, so just about any coach could afford to get him in, especially what we know he can be in fantasy. And Burns there just as a cheapie, certainly wouldn't be going near him, but again, if you're desperate for whatever reason and you need an edge over a front row, I'd certainly go Hayward as the cheapie option. But if you need a third edge, I mean, he scored 33 last week in his first crack at the role. It was with 6 missed tackles, so if he can get a control of his negatives week in, week out, he could give you a 40 plus for an average. Halves, we have Ben Hunt, mentioned him last week, and we like the looks of him. And he turned good, 56 in his first outing at halfback there for the Broncos, 400 kicking meters, and he looks to be good for averaging 50 for these last 3 games. So, yeah, top of
You
the
have
list when it comes to pods.
you have to imagine he's sort of staying around that 48, 50, or potentially plus if he's a bit more attacking. So you know,
Yeah,
definite, like fill a gap as a half option. That's fantastic.
yeah. And Wishart continues to go well with a 50 last week without a try. 30 tackles, 464k, so he jumped another 50 odd k. Again, for anyone without that coin, you're looking for a third half. Great option here. If you can't pick up the likes of, say, a Katoa or a Fogarty, this guy would be the one for you. Into the centres, Adam Dewey. Pod options, talking about them, he is right up there. Man, a man in form, and he is just riding the wave of confidence. Smoked out of 62, averaged a 65 in the last 5, only 7% owned. So for someone who's probably arguably the best pot option in fantasy at the moment, 7% owned, and he could average 60 on the run home. Yeah, unreal.
Do you think, Frosty, there is any chance that Benji goes and switches things back up and gives Latu a bit of a shot for the run home?
I don't think so. If it is, it'll be round 27. Like, they found themselves right on the outside chance of the top 8 if they
Yeah.
won all 3 points differential. So if they win this week, it'll be the same again next week. And then, if they fall out for that last round, they may look to. But I think Dewey's got at least 2. And I think they've re-signed him for a couple of years, Dewey, that is. So you'd like to think that Benji stays good. They've found a little bit of mojo. He was speaking to the media a couple of days ago and saying, they sort of found what works for them as a team. So if he's out there publicly stating that stuff and then he changes the spine again, I would be
Not a good
mind
look.
blown.
I completely
No,
agree with it too. I think AD and Luai together actually really suit each other. I think AD is actually a really good half.
yeah,
I don't think he's been really used that well in the last couple of years, to be honest with you.
no, no. My older brother's actually a Tigers fan, and whenever we're in conversations around league, that is always has been my point of view over the last 3 years. Adam Dewey, for a non-Tigers fan, is your guy's best player, and yeah, for whatever reason, sort of hasn't been quite treated like that, and
Yeah.
yeah, just puzzling at times. Um, Buchanan, cheapy, he's there again. He looks to have a spot there in the Dragons for the run home. Scored a 35 last week without a try, which is good signs for this type of player and this sort of role at this price. 1 turnover and 3 tackle busts were his only other stats outside of your base ones of running and tackles. 299k. I'm just hoping his price doesn't get away on us because it'd be a nice wee possible cash cow to start things off for us next year. But for the time being, if you're desperate for a third centre, it's sort of lacking a little bit of depth outside of those 3 above him, Vermeil, Kraz, Dewey. There's no one really that appeals to me at all on a fantasy front. So, if he gives you a 35 and he's filling in injuries, I wouldn't actually blame you. And to wrap things up, wing fullback's a man that's sat here for honestly a good month for us now, but he has rewarded any coach who's listened and picked up the pod. He's still only 12% owned flat, so low owned, and smashed out a 94. So I think he's had about 550s before that in 6 weeks, and he's now put the cherry on top with the 94. So he looks the goods, even with the halves out. It's great signs if you did have him or if you brought him in as a pod play. So good on you if you have. I haven't quite got there, and I don't think I will, but a fantastic pod option for anyone who's looking for some points in head-to-head or to gain a few ranks in overall this week.
I will say, touching on Walsh, I doubted a little bit last week when we talked about him because I was like, without Ezra, could he go back to his low scoring? But no, he was sort of as much the go-to person in that game. So he was great.
Yeah. And I think the big plus from moving forward for the fantasy round robin is kicking goals now with Reynolds out. So they scored plenty. I think he got 7 conversion, which is 14 points. Still only drops him down to 80. So still a good game, but that's just it should be another 6 points to his name. You'd like to say he's kicking 3 goals a week. So nice wee buffer. And Nafahu, youngster there, Dolphins, had a week or two at centre. He's now back on the wing, but I guess the positive there is if you're sitting on him or you're looking again for a desperate cash out for whatever reason, he looks to have a spot there in the Dolphins' back line for the next few weeks. Herbie is due back, I think, 27, but if they fall out of that race for the 8th spot, I don't see them bringing Herbie back. So they're looking in danger of that, so he should get the 3 rounds, you would imagine.
No, well done there, Frosty. Agree with all that. I might just go back to it quickly and ask you a quick question. Looking at the pods and the cheapies, so I've already mentioned that everyone should probably have those 12 players up top in each position. If you don't, those are the obvious players that you want to get in. But for the pods and the cheapies we've got, if you could pick one for your team, in each a pod and a cheapie, which would it be out of those guys?
Again, if positions didn't matter, you've got good coverage. I would probably be leaning towards Adam Dewey. His base, like low scores, look to be somewhat mid-40s. But yeah, his peak can be anything from 80s, 90s to your 60s that you're seeing pretty consistently. So he'd be my top pod on the radar. And then cheapies, it would be Hayward for me over Wishart. Purely, I think, just the consistency. Like if you are looking for a 45 average week in, week out, Hayward's more likely to give that now with 70 minutes at hooker. Wishart, he can score a try and give you a 70, but he can also give you a 35. So yeah, I'll probably just go the more consistent when it comes to the cheapies myself. What about you, Steve-O?
Yeah, for me, it's the exact same. I'm regretting not having brought Adam Dewey in weeks ago when he was an option at mid 400s. So, and a little bit same with Walsh. I think, just with that high upside, he's going to have to do a lot. So those sort of 2 for the pods for me. And to be honest, they're both on my radar with I've only got 1 trade left, and they're both on my radar for that last trade. And cheapies on the exact same. It's Hayward. Hayward for me over Wishart, purely because he plays mid as well. So that little bit of coverage, and you sort of Dogs have already made it clear that he's the guy that they're going to put the time and effort into. So I like the consistency there of a 40 plus player week in, week out. And you're right, Wishart has great attacking upside, but if he doesn't get that, it could be a 30 quite easily.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our round 25 trade targets for this week. And we'll move into some key questions now. So I'll ask you these. We've got 4 here, unless something else pops up into my mind. But first one, Frosty, do you ride or die any green dots in your 21 from here on out?
Yeah, I think you have to. I mean, most of us are probably looking at 3 trades or less, and yeah, they are like gold right now. So even if it's someone who's floundering a little bit, Tarpany, I've still got him myself, held him through the bye, didn't need to get rid of him. It'll be awfully frustrating if he does chuck out another mid-30s, late 30s, but getting rid of him for someone who'll give you 50, you might get 1 week of that and then get another injury elsewhere. There's your last trade, and all of a sudden you are in trouble. So I think that's my biggest concern is using it, get a wee upgrade, possibly. I mean, Tarpany busts out at 55, where it's going to be hard to beat anyway, outside of Haas and May that everyone's got, and Clark. So it is just a massive risk that I'm not willing to take at the moment. I don't think other coaches should be taking because, as you read out earlier in this episode, to start out, the outs are utter carnage. And I had Jolliffe gone for the season and Ford gone for the season with suspension. So there's 2. If I did get rid of Tarpany last week, well, I would be in a world of hurt right now. So that's my take. What about yourself?
I'm pretty lucky for my team. Like, you had a couple of injuries. I had Garrick, who is my only injury off that list, and he was already my 20th man in my team, maybe 19th, depending on who I'd pick with between him and Galvin. Galvin's probably the one that I would like to trade out if I had additional trades, and trading in one of those players that we just mentioned, like a Walsh, straight up to a Walsh, would be sort of that high X factor that I could loop in. Other than that, though, no, I think green dots, you're riding, you're dying. You're dying by the sword now, sort of thing. You keep them in your team.
Yeah.
I've got 1 trade. I'm not planning to use it this week, and I will save it for when I desperately need to field a 17. So this week I've got 18 available, plus Yo if he comes back, and I'm expecting he will. So I should have 19 available, with only Kane, Bradley, and Garrett out. And Bradley, who I did bring in intentionally as a red dot, but also someone that I expected would play come round 27 when they round 26 when the Storm rest a few players. So when Coates will without a doubt get a resting, I'd say. So yeah, I'm not using my final on a green, that's for sure. It'll be hopefully no one that I need to use it on, and if come round 26 or 27 I can use a luxury trade, I'll do that, but otherwise it'll be holding for an injury.
Yeah, nice.
Second question, if you're using trades this week, do you target the common keepers? Sort of like those 12 players we mentioned, or similar sort of players like that, like the likes of your Crichton and your Drinkwaters and people like that? Or do you go for a pod, you take a punt, you pick up someone that is a bit of a point of difference, that has high upside, that might get you some ranks gained?
Yeah, I think going back to our trade targets, there are probably a couple of chinks in the armor of the keepers that every team has. So if you don't have them, I wouldn't necessarily be jumping on board the wagon now. One at the front of that would be Katoa and the halves. Average of about 42 over the last 3 rounds. He is on a real slide at the moment. So if I was bringing in a half, I would be going a Dewey over him, for example, with his hot streak. And if he's given out an average of 60 and Katoa slightly bumps that up to a 47, 48, where you're gaining 10 points. So that's the sort of one I'd be targeting. Likewise, Carraz is on a bit of a dip there. So wing fullbacks, I would be bringing in a Walsh instead of Carraz. I know Carraz has that duel, which helps cover if injuries and that come up in these last couple of rounds. But yeah, Dogs tough run home. They're struggling a little bit. Fraz's form might not bounce back, and Walsh and the Broncos are looking to be going much better. So I think there's a couple options there. Otherwise, yeah, the props are probably a harder one. I'd be staying with the pack, but there's a couple of spots and positions if you're wise enough and you do your research. The risks are definitely worth taking and rolling the dice.
I do. Looking back at our pod list, the likes of Virals, who is less than 1% owned, and looking like a consistent 50-point scorer. I quite like the idea of trying to bring someone in like that. That gives you a bit of point of difference over than maybe just your standard sort of player that's 15-20% owned.
Yeah.
Because that could be the difference in making a bit of points, especially if someone like Angus Crichton has a couple of down weeks to finish, and you're tossing up between someone like that or... so yeah, a point of difference, especially if you just want to, hey, why not take a risk? Let's bring in a pod. I'd definitely be doing Adam Dewey. I'd definitely be considering Walsh over a Carraz or a Drinkwater. Even with Drinkwater scoring 102, there's always chance that he goes and has a 30-odd next week, has a couple of drops. Cowboys play terrible. I don't think they will.
Yeah.
But yeah, and touching on Katoa, I'd be going Ben Hunt over Katoa at the moment. Because
good shout.
Katoa's been fantastic this season. He's been great to watch, but just with the sort of the injury toll on the Dolphins, it's come back to the pack a little bit as a team and for himself. So, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because I like to watch him play, but I mean, without Herbie there, it's just that's a big attacking weapon out. On your final plays, it takes away points for everyone around him, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on then, as an overall player, but in a head-to-head semi or final, which both you and I in our semi-finals of our head-to-head league this week, Frosty. The question is, do you go all out and potentially use a trade for that head-to-head matchup?
Yeah, I think this is case-by-case basis. And yeah, again, had to just be aware and weigh it up. One, how many different matchups you have with your head-to-head opponent. If that's slim and there's only 3 or 4, 5 points of difference, which isn't uncommon at this point of the year, you just need to decide if you're confident in your matchups or if you're not confident, and if there is a area of weakness that you think will be a massive game change of about 20 points, then you may be looking at making the trade. But I don't think there's too many cases where you are. Your 17 scorers should be good enough, and if they're green dots again this week, even if someone had a bit of a downer last week, you should still be backing them to bounce back and do the job you have them there for when building your team for the run home. So, yeah, I would be careful, but there'll be a couple of different situations where it is a meaningful trade, and you've got to get to the final, especially if there's some sort of cash on the line or some sort of prize. No good holding, especially 2 or 3 trades in your pocket, and then not even making it to the final. So, case by case, and weigh it up.
Yeah, for me, it depends what's more important. Like, you and I are both in a position here where a couple of good weeks we win, a lump sum of money. And we're not going to win a lump sum of money coming 500th. But what's worth more? Getting somewhere in, 300 or ending up 600. So, all the cash, So, yeah, I mean, if my team I'm happy with for this week, and I think in my head-to-head matchup, if a couple things go my way, I can easily win my head-to-head matchup, and I'm facing someone ranked 179 overall. And Big Zamo, Big Dog Z. But next week, if I was to win this week, and I'm facing you in the final, which is what I'm hoping is going to be the case. No spoilers, but I mean, I'll probably think I might use that last trade purely for the head-to-head matchup because I'll be sniffing that money then, and it's
Yeah,
I
well and
might
truly.
I might deem it more worthwhile. One thing I will note, and same for you, we've been playing head to head all league all year with the same overall team,
Yeah,
and I've always had overall as my main focus. But head to head has always been in the back of my mind in terms of buy planning, in terms of players is going to have out. Like I knew I was going to have two Raiders out last week for a potential matchup, knowing that it wasn't
yeah,
going to be hopefully an elimination game, and I might have been in a safe position. Um, and yeah, the same thing, knowing I wasn't going to have any Sharks for this matchup. So,
yeah,
and I know in our head-to-head league, all four of us have done basically the same, and we're all close to that top 1K rank, all four of us. And
yeah,
when you look at the teams, there's no wonder why it's been the case. None of us have Sharks, none of us have Raiders for next week. So, sorry, Rabbitohs for next week. So
yeah,
the planning's been there pretty well for head to head as well as overall. So I think
yeah.
if you're doing good in overall, you're usually doing pretty good in head to head.
That's right. Yeah.
Lastly, we touched on each week, but captain's choices for this round. You've got your last week. You went Haas,
Yeah.
who I wanted to go, and right up until just before the game, you and me discussing it, and I chickened out and went with May, who
Yeah.
had one of his worst games of the season,
Yeah,
and
did he not?
Nathan Cleary also there is a solid choice with 78, scoring a 78. So those are sort of your three big ones. But I mean, last week we had a couple of blinders, like a Drinkwater, like a Walsh,
Yeah.
Teddy and Edwards went alright. It was sort of Campbell scored a 60. So there's lots of opportunities to like take a punt on players. But what do you think is the best choice for captain this week in round 25?
Uh, yeah, I mean, gee, May, I'd hate to put the mocks on him, but it almost seems like plodding away for 80 minutes all season is starting to catch up on him somewhat. And I'm not sure about you, Steve, but man, watching him the last couple of weeks, he just looks like a real plodder now and no real emphasis to any hit ups. He doesn't really look like a tackle buster anymore. And as a result, he's going into contact softer, so the offloads are hard to get away. And yeah, it just has not been that appealing. So I'll be staying away from him, even against the Cowboys, who can give up some points and be a bit fragile.
Just on May
Uh,
before you move on,
yeah,
I completely agree. Like coming off the bye, I thought, yeah, he could go close to 80 minutes here. They need a win. They got the win, but they need a win, so he's got to play a big role. But I'm not sure if it's because of AD now playing in the half, but May is getting the ball and almost playing that sort of 13 Isaiah Yo role a little bit. Like he
mm,
was very much a pass straight back to one of your halves in Luai or AD. So yeah, and when he did take it up, like you say, he looked a lot soft. I think all teams now know to wrap him up high. So he wrap his
yeah,
arms so he can't get an offload because he, previously would get, 6+ a game. So I think I still think he's an option if you don't have, say, Haas or Cleary, which you should. But if you don't, he's still an
yeah,
option because he should still give you a 60 plus most weeks. Um,
yeah,
and I mean, he is reliable as well. He's fitness wise, he's reliable a lot more so than Cleary and Haas. But I mean,
yeah,
I think for this last few weeks, I won't be going back to May. So I think I'm done. It's because I've just been
yeah,
hurt, but I think I'm done.
yeah,
And maybe next year, start of next season, if he loses a bit more cash, he'll be an easy
yeah,
buy-in and he'll be a straight captain option because I think he'll start the season hot.
yeah. Great shout. So yeah, so it leaves two. Haas, he's got Newcastle. Again, probably a forward pack there that can be run through a little bit. So we talked about that with the Dolphins, and he did exactly that. 13 tackle bus, 4 or 5, 6 offloads. So couple to ground, couple to hand. Um, I would expect something of the same account this week. So I've probably got it on him at the moment. But yeah, I was talking to Zamo and captaincy choices leading up to kickoff last week, and in that chat wouldn't be surprised if Cleary gets up for the big games. He sort of lives for that. Panthers found themselves the last 17 rounds in or so, and they're back in the hunt, and these games matter. He was right up against the Storm last week. They've now got the ladder leading Raiders. He'll be out to lead the Panthers to another win. So I think he'll be in everything again. Had to try to get a 78, but yeah, he'll go close again. I would expect a 70 plus from Cleary, but I might just go back to back with Haas.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Haas this week. I wouldn't hate Cleary. Like against the Raiders, he is going to have to be ball dominant. If they are going to play well, it's going to have to go through Cleary. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does another 70 plus score. But for me, Haas, like you say, against the Knights, bit of a weak team, not much to play for, or big names out. So Haas has to have another big game, really, for the Broncos to stay on top. Looking away from those three, just to finish, you really want to take a punt. You're playing, say you're playing in a head-to-head, and you've got those three. So does your other option, and he's got a predicted score to be an extra 100 than you. He's already got the captaincy on Haas. Who's an outsider that you look to use this week as your potential 102 from Drinkwater? Who's your matchup you really like?
I like Campbell at home against the Warriors. The Titans are wooden spooners, and they aren't a great outfit, but he's got points in him, and he's coming off a 60. He turned up a couple of weeks ago, so he does have it in him. Some fine weather, some quick footy. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go big again. Drinkwater, I mean, I captained Campbell following his ton and hoped for the same and didn't put that out, so I don't think I'll be falling into that again. And I think Campbell probably had a bit more promise. I mean, Drinkwater's got the Tigers. And Tigers, as we mentioned before, they've found a bit of form, found a bit of identity, probably slightly too late in the season, but they're making a late charge there in round 9th and 10th. So, yeah, I don't think Tigers will be walkovers. Warriors still battling away. It wasn't pretty against the Dragons. A win's a win, but it certainly wasn't pretty. So I think there's still some chinks in the armour that Campbell might be able to cash in on.
For me, Campbell's a great option for that exact reason. When he faced the Warriors a couple of weeks ago, did he not score? He went big against the Warriors, I think. Off the top of my head,
it was when he went.
Off the top of my head, he
82.
82. So yeah, I like that. And this week's in the Gold Coast, like so. So Campbell, he's a serious option if you need to sort of make a pod play captain. The other one for me would be Tedesco against the Eels. Roosters are in hot form. Eels not playing terrible, but I think Teddy has a week this week and goes one of his better ones of the season. And I mean, if you were chasing points and you saw Drinkwater's 102 and you think, oh, he could do it again. I know you talked about it, and there's all chance he could. So the Tigers are a better defensive side, but Drinkwater now making sure he's goal kicking. He is sort of your playmaker. He's the X factor. I'm not against it as well. So that's my back three for my team actually, is Campbell, Tedesco, and Drinkwater.
Yeah, same.
So I don't mind either one of them if it was a pod play. It won't be me, but for anyone else.
Yeah.
Right, we'll move along now to your team. And as we mentioned, there is your back three of Campbell, Tedesco, and Drinkwater. So do you want to talk us through your round from last week?
Yeah, mentioned it right at the start of the episode, but didn't mind this week in fantasy. 1,100 flat, so the updates were kind. I was sitting a few points off that, but got there just. So I jumped from, I think it was 550 right into 316. So a couple hundred ranks there, which I will certainly take at this time of the season. I think I went from about 21st in the Bulldogs League to 12th, so some big jumps. But what really hurt was Jolis knee injury, gone for the season, and then Jackson Ford, just grade 1 crusher, 3-week suspension. Thanks for that, buddy. So with 2 trades left, I'm staring down the barrel of having to use both of them. I'm not sure if I will this week. Yao returns, and I've got a bit of depth there. Shout out to King Toya, back-to-back 50s, looping them in. So as you can see, Edwards and King Toya double loop, and that worked magic. That bench was outstanding.
Unreal bench there.
Kraz was the letdown. Yeah, Katoa, but a lot of teams had those two. So yeah, the bench really picked me up and was probably the difference. So frustrating to see Ford go because I think we've talked about him a lot, and he was that dual position 55 average guy for me, and yeah, I won't quite be filling him with the same sort of player if I do make a trade this week.
Moving on to me, 989, so nowhere near as good as you, Frosty, about 110 short, but you came in 200 ranks, I went out 200 ranks, 220 odds, so I'm 1243 now. So pretty disappointing, and if you look at my bench, it was a little bit different there. I wasn't able to loop anyone in with a couple of Raiders out, along with Yo, so having to lock in Galvin and Garrick at 31 and 17 sort of hurt quite a bit, as sort of now basically pod plays.
Yeah.
And then, through my team, I picked May as the captain, and that was disappointing. I should have gone on Haas, should have gone with the earlier game, the gut feel, but decided, thinking I was being smart and picking the safest option, went with May. So sort of let me down a bit. And then there was, the same as everyone, Karaz, Katoa. So, yeah, it was those two Galvin and Garrick that sort of cost me a little bit of points there, really, against others. So, shout out Drinkwater, though, winning me my head-to-head matchup in an elimination game. I needed a 78 from him in the final game for me to win my head-to-head match. And I said that at the start of the game, like, head-to-head's done. Here I am, perfect planning, and I'm eliminated. Drinkwater pulled out a handy for me and got me home with about 30 points extra. So I was, stoked with that at least. So it made my round feel a lot better than it probably was, having pushed out 200 ranks.
Gee, just imagine being the other guy, your matchup cannon. He would have just been punching his ticket last game. Drinkwater needs 78. I am through. Who's my matchup going to be for the semis? I'm one win off the final, playing for some cash. And he comes and just rips your undies, and thanks for coming. You're dumped out of the comp.
And I would have lost to a team with 16 players as well, because he had no trades left, so that would have been pretty...
that would have been a tough loss.
It would have been a tough loss. I mean, if he had one trade up his sleeve, he probably wins the round too, so that's why you hold trades come into the season, lads. We'll just wrap it up here with a quick fire over our tips for round 25. Yep. On Thursday night, sort of a game I might not even stay up for, if I'm honest with you. Rabbitohs versus Dragons.
Oh, no.
For me, Rabbitohs, have they gone 2 in a row? They have, I think.
I think they have.
Even though they're favourites here, I'm going to go the Dragons, because I think the Dragons get one back after a couple of close losses.
Yeah, gee, well, Rabbitohs has been hit hard by injuries, but Dragons have suffered a few there. Couple of
big forward
players guys filling in, starting roles. So, look, I will go the Bunnies to just continue their momentum for the run home.
I like
Kolomatangi, he'll run for 200 metres.
Yeah, and the likes of Gray and the young halves all playing pretty well. So it's
yep.
If you're a Rabbitohs supporter, there's a bit to watch there, to be honest.
Yeah, Smith off the bench.
Oh, I've just seen the odds here for the first time. Panthers at home to the Raiders. Panthers are big favourites, paying about 76 cents less. So, I am going to go with the Panthers. I am a big Panthers fan, and I reckon they don't lose 2 in a row.
I'm going to go the Raiders purely because I would love nothing more than the Raiders to just beat the Panthers and keep them out of the top 4. One, that's good for the Warriors fans, but most importantly, it's good for the Dogs fans because, like we mentioned earlier in the episode, right at the start, Dogs have a tough stretch these 3 games, and if they go 2 losses, God forbid 3, but even 2 losses, Panthers and the Warriors could jump and I would be having nightmares if Dogs finished fifth. So
You
come on, the
certainly
Raiders.
would. Yep, sticking with the Panthers for me. The next game, late one on Friday night, with your Bulldogs away to the Storm. I am sticking on the Storm.
Just Storm away. Bellyache will be in fine form, just heart attack material, because Dogs will be just getting on top of them and squeezing the life out of them. So Dogs by 4.
That's betting with your heart there, mate. Next matchup, the early game on Saturday, Eagles versus the Dolphins. Who are you going on this?
I'm going to say Manly are in all sorts, but I think the wheels are falling off. The wagon is getting shaky. And I think it's about to just, fall flat on the ground. So I'm going to go Dolphins to ring them up a bit here.
I agree, and I'm going to back that as well. Titans versus my beloved Warriors. For me, it is going to be the Warriors. They're going to finish this season strong, and they're going to pass the Dogs.
Gee. Well, I was going to bet the Warriors over. You're chucking that material out there. I might have to go the Titans, but wouldn't it be something if the Wooden Spooners just got it over the Warriors twice in one season? Gee, that would be tough for all Warriors fans. Will it happen?
Yeah, I mean, especially when it's at this stage of the season. The last game was only a few weeks ago, so losing 2 games against the Titans when you're on the run home to try and stay in the top 4, that would be devastating for the Warriors. So I'm sticking with the Warriors.
Oh, I would. Oh, no, I wouldn't love to see it, but it would be something going 0-2 against the Titans Wooden Spooners. But as I mentioned before, Warriors for a win, because even if the Panthers do, the Warriors need to just keep on winning to keep them out. So hopefully that scrappy win has reignited the boys.
Late night Saturday, Roosters over the Eels. Say no more. Should we move on? Both supporting the Roosters?
Yep, I like it.
Sunday then, we have, again, should we lock in the Broncos beating the Knights?
Yep, I'm right there with you, Steve-O.
And then lastly, we've got the West Tigers at home against the Cowboys. And the Tigers are in a bit of form. They are the favourites. Who are you going there?
I will go with the Tigers at home. Found a bit of form. It's good for Benji. I'd like to see him having some success after a bit of a tough run, so I'll go Tigers.
I will go a bit of a difference there. I will go the Cowboys. I think they sort of fight to... I'm not sure if they've got any chance at the top 8 now, do they? 21.
I think they're well on the outer.
No, they don't, do they? They can only get 6 points. That takes them to 27, which is not even the top 8. So they're on the out. Tigers are there close enough though, but I reckon Cowboys upset the party and sort of end the Tiger season. So that's that for that. And that is it for round 25 on the podcast. And next week we'll have maybe a little bit less to talk about as it gets a bit closer. You know, head-to-head starts to finish.
Yeah.
Trades are almost a done deal. So we might have a bit more of a quick one, and then it's just about wrapping up the season. And we might have a couple of potties throughout the towards the end of the season, sort of talking about our season and you know how we want to do next year.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything you want to finish with, Frosty?
No, looking forward to it. Semi-finals for us both. So good luck there, mate. And I'll be happy with another back-to-back 1100s to hopefully get myself into that grand final.
Good luck, and I hope to face you next week in the final. So that'd be great. I'd love to see Zama get knocked off. I'm usually one to beat him in a playoff match, so he'll remember that too. So hopefully
he will.
Anyway, thanks everyone for watching
thanks,
the NRL HQ podcast, and we'll hope to catch you next week. See you later. We appreciate your support for the Fantasy HQ podcast, all things NRL fantasy. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify and Facebook, and most importantly, thanks for watching.